Okay, I am now recording. Hello, welcome everyone to our alumni event. We have with us today, I'm going to repeat for the recording, Abby, Phoebe, Zoe, Dan, and Owen. And they are all liberal arts alumni, and they're also have a special place in the liberal arts of Bristol canon. They are noteworthy for various reasons, as they will tell us when they introduce themselves. So I think without further ado, I'm going to welcome each of them to talk a little bit about their liberal arts experience and what made them so awesome with when they were on our program, and then tell us a little bit about what they're doing now and what makes them so awesome now. Does that sound like a good plan? Does anyone have to like leave in 10 minutes and therefore needs to go first? Or shall I just do you in random order? Random order it is. I'm going to start with Zoe, who we were just agreeing is going to run for prime minister in the next election. So tell us all about that, Zoe.
Hi everyone. So yeah, I am actually the Prime Minister right now.
Oh.
Just casually running the country. I hope that you're proud of the job that I'm doing. Just kidding. It's really lovely to be here. First of all, I recognize some people's names and then I don't recognize others, which is really a sign that I'm not a Bristol uni anymore, and I need to move on. This is a really exciting event. Thank you, Karen, for creating it. This didn't really happen when we were in the pre-Karen years of being at Bristol. And I've kind of put some notes together to talk about, well, I guess part of the reason I'm here is because of the award that I got in my final year, but also just to like tell you what I'm up to now. And if you have any questions or advice that I can give you with my like literally year and a half of experience, which is not that much experience since leaving uni, then please do ask me anything. So I guess, well, when I finished at Bristol, Karen hosted our graduation event where I got the highest program award honour, which was really exciting. And I beat all my classmates, so haha, just kidding. Love them all. But I kind of do want to say really explicitly that actually I genuinely, truly believe that grades do not matter at all. So I'm kind of slightly uncomfortable with the award in that sense. I actually spent like a lot of my final year working with Phoebe and other students trying to build a case for getting rid of things like marks. And I reckon they're going to be something that will be on your mind hugely right now, have been for the last 3 years, and will be up until the time you graduate. But I think very importantly, they are a very subjective take on a very singular aspect of what you are doing in your life right now. And they're really helpful. They're a really good guide. They're a good evaluation to tell you where you're at in comparison to others and yourself previously, but they are not your whole worth. And the fact that I did really well in terms of marks partly was because I worked really, really hard. Some of it was probably also coincidence, and it wasn't a kind of determinant of how good I was as a person. And to be honest, the marks themselves have not gone on to inform anything that's happened to me since. So that's just my important opinion. But what did I do in my final year at liberal arts that made it successful beyond just the idea of how you do grades wise? Um, for me, it was a kind of major value that I chose to study classes that I wanted to study rather than ones that I thought I would be good at or that I thought I would do well in, which kind of meant taking risks. So even though I was doing the master's year, I decided to take 2 disciplines that I'd never studied before, one of which was linguistics, which was bringing back slightly bad memories, and the other was beginner's Arabic, also mixed memories. And one of them I didn't do very well in marks wise, and the other one I did like incredibly well in marks wise, but both of them were actually fantastic, super duper important, and I still use a lot of the lessons I learned in those and the skills that I developed in those in my job right now. So they were about me taking risks, following what I wanted to do, and they were both much, much more rewarding because of it. I did the same in my dissertation. My dissertation was an English literature piece of research, so I was familiar with that. That was my major, but I also did a linguistics strand, which was much harder, much more complicated, and again, something that I was learning brand new, but again, was so much more worth it and represented success to me because I was doing something that I really genuinely loved so much, and I just couldn't stop talking about it and couldn't stop thinking about it. That was kind of the most important thing for me in terms of my studies. Outside of doing my actual liberal arts classes, I also did, well, it was important to me that I just did a whole range of other things. I probably took on too many things. Being able to say no is a skill that I'm developing now, I think. But I helped, Phoebe and we helped coordinate the liberal arts conference. I also worked at an anti-homophobia charity. I also worked with the Institute for Learning and Teaching. And I was also the chair of the student council. Shout out to Abby, who similarly did that. And what that meant for me is that my brain wasn't just like solely thinking that I was my degree, which was also really, really important psychologically. Like there were lots of other things I was involved in, lots of other people I was meeting, lots of other things that I was kind of putting myself into. And whilst I think actually I did too much, it may be helpful if you're someone who's like really, really overabsorbed, not overabsorbed, but just really, really absorbed, understandably, in your final year or whatever year you're at, to take on a small other thing so you feel like you can spread your self-worth out. But most importantly, the key to what I consider was my success for me that year, and to be honest, I'm really, really proud of how I handled that year, was that I kept it real by having loads of friends. And I actually really struggled to make friends on the liberal arts program before I went on my year abroad. And my guardian angel kicked into gear in my fourth year and presented me with a fantastic group of people that I got really close with. And that was so fundamental because people on your course can help you with anything from like, how do I footnote this blog, to being like, guys, the deadline is next week. Why have none of us written this whole section? And that's a really, really important thing. It was like an incredibly wonderful educational and emotional support group. And I genuinely would not have got most of my work in on time had I not been working with people. That for me was really, really important. Since leaving Bristol, I have I'm currently working as part of a graduate program in the House of Commons, which is like the civil service fast stream, but I don't work for the civil service because I don't work for the government. And my role is I'm a parliamentary clerk, which is essentially a House of Commons and also a House of Lords official who advises MPs or Lords on Parliament and parliamentary procedure. So we help them with everything that they do in Westminster, but nothing to do with their constituency or their political party. So we're impartial officials. I worked last year on a select committee, which is a group of MPs from lots of different parties, and they were doing inquiries into the Department for Work and Pensions. So we're doing lots of things into benefits, work policy, pensions policy. Then coronavirus hit, so we did loads of work into poverty and coronavirus. And I was advising them. I was bringing witnesses into them, and then I wrote a report for them that was published in their name. It's fine. And then since I now work in a procedural office in the House of Commons, I advise MPs on petitions if they want to present a petition for their constituents. I also maintain the official diary of what happens in the House of Commons chamber every day. And I'm being trained up to work in papers, which doesn't mean anything to anyone, but it does mean that I will see a draft copy of the Brexit trade deal if it exists, and that will become my kind of main thing, is processing like treaties and things that I don't know anything about right now. And yeah, that's kind of my life since 2018.
Thank you, Zoe. I think that's a pretty amazing life. Not bad, not bad. If I can ask one question, when does the graduate scheme end and what do you think you'll do after that?
It doesn't really formally end, you just get promoted. You like go for promotion. So I can go for a promotion in September of 2021. And by the way, if anyone's interested in this scheme, please contact me because it's brilliant. Or Civil Service Fast Stream, and I can advise you on it and help you with applications and stuff. But I will probably go for promotion because your pay packet doubles, and that would be so delightful to be able to afford to live in London properly. But I don't think I want to work impartially for my whole career. So I think that I'm kind of absorbing as much knowledge about how our parliamentary system works I'd quite like to work in somewhere like Canada or New Zealand, where they've got really similar parliaments because of colonisation. But I think ultimately I'll probably want to do something political, but beyond being impartial.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much, Zoe. And I'm so glad you came here today and that we found you after searching.
Thank you for finding me.
Should we have Dan so we switch year groups?
Hey. Yeah, I'm Dan. I graduated this year. And I've somehow won joint best overall achievement. So thank you for that. And thanks for having us here today. But yeah, I can't really explain how any of this happened. It's basically the day I handed in my dissertation, I was just like, I've failed, I've messed it up, and I wrote most of it the night before, and I was just a mess. And my mum bought me toast at 6 a.m. and I was like, it's not going well. And I cried and stayed up for like 36 hours. And I Googled like, what happens when you fail a dissertation? I was like, oh, fine, I haven't got a degree. And then I got my results, and then I got a prize. And now I've got to tell you how I excelled at my degree. So basically, don't do what I did is all the advice I can give you. But what I would say is that I basically figured out how I work best and just accepted it. So I spent a lot of time trying to fight it and not procrastinate and be more organized. And you can do a bit of that. You can kind of work with what you've got and get better at what you do. But I think you just got to accept how you work and get on with it. So my dissertation supervisor said, like, it's not a bad thing that you work well to deadlines and work well under pressure. Like, workplaces and employers need that as well. So yeah, just roll with it. Yeah, and similar to Zoe, I'd say also, I just picked things that I enjoyed along the way. I guess you kind of play to your strengths. You choose things which you think you might be good at. So like choosing your pathway, I chose German on a whim after results day. I was like, oh, I'll have a go. Yeah, then within that, you choose modules which sound interesting or exciting or challenging, and try new things along the way as well. So I did like a bit of economics on my year abroad, and some Italian and some book history in my final year. And that was all new stuff to me, but really, I guess, expanded my horizons, if you like, my brain. Yeah. And also similar to Zoe, I think what you do beyond your degree is just as important. So you can't just spend all day and night in the library working. I think if you're kind of figuring out who you are as a person and kind of growing as a person, finding out what's important to you and finding your community, kind of whether that's in liberal arts or beyond it or both, then I think I certainly enjoyed my studies more because of that, and I think did better because of that as well. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. I think just figure out how you work, go with it, and do stuff beyond your degree as well, kind of expand your horizons academically and personally. And then I'm just going to read this message. Very true, very true. We do need the deadlines. Yeah, so now I'm currently unemployed, living with my parents. So a couple of plans have fallen through, but that's 2020. And I'm not in a big rush, just kind of saying yes to opportunities I get and seeing where it goes. But I would also say actually that applying for jobs, liberal arts genuinely does help. like a lot of job descriptions, I'm like, oh yeah, I do actually have those skills. So it's not.
I hear some fuzz. Are we losing Dan? Yeah, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, I think my computer froze, but I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think, you know, we could run a whole workshop, I guess, with careers on like how to make the most out of that liberal arts, like how to spin it the best for employment. We should probably do something like that, huh? That would be a smart thing to do, because I think that so many people discount the skills that they've gotten. Like I'm always like, mention the data, that makes you special in this. You know, how many people come out of a humanities degree with learning how to work with data in that way? Okay, Owen, would you like to tell us what's up with you?
Yeah, hi everyone. Again, thanks Karen for hosting the event. I think it's important to get a vision of what can happen after your liberal arts degree, especially in these kind of uncertain times where the graduate market is pretty difficult, in all honesty. But I'm going to spin it with a positive kind of story. So I got the Best Citizenship, Liberal Arts Citizen kind of award, and I was kind of like, I guess the question I had to ask myself was, what does it mean to kind of bring interdisciplinarity out into the community and back again, and like back towards myself as like an academic. And I kind of thought about different projects I'd been involved in alongside my studies. And I thought about, well, actually in second year, as part of the Ideas and Society unit, I remember having a chat with Dr. Birch Brown, Joanna, who I had quite a good connection with, and she kind of got me involved in these workshops at the People's Republic of Stokes Cross with some US exchange students, which was about countering Colston and the toppling monuments. And it was a great kind of workshop to be involved in. We talked about reimagining monuments, where kind of similar topics that have been coming up all year since Colston was taken down with the Black Lives Matter movement in the summer. But it was quite interesting that, you know, when was it? Was it 2017? I was kind of in the midst of all this discussion just through liberal arts and through taking these ideas out into the community, where I met kind of local activists and members of the Countering Colston campaign in Bristol. And yeah, and kind of I was able to share some of the kind of ideas I developed on that unit in the liberal arts strand, talking about like Black nationalism and different versions of Black nationalism, different versions of what it means to be Black for different groups. And yeah, and then you find that when something like that, when an event, when Black Lives Matter movement kind of erupts this summer, you kind of feel very on top of the debate and very on, I'm very a part of it, and I felt very immersed in it. And now these kind of discussions have come up in job interviews. So yeah, I really enjoyed that part of kind of taking Ideas in Society out into the community and then bringing what I'd learned into the community back into my essays again. And then on my year abroad, I was quite eager to get involved in like everything that was going on in those cool European cities I was a part of. So I was working on the Messi Patra Queer Film Festival, you know, from helping install the disco balls to stewarding at the box office to like recommending my favorite queer literature to like attendees. But within that kind of space, there was academic panel discussions, and we talked about kind of the role of the corporation in queer heritage spaces and whitewashing queer heritage. And then because I was involved in this kind of great, colourful and glittery, glamorous event, I kind of took it was so memorable and it left such a lasting impression that I kind of did my subsequent academic paper in one of my heritage units on queer heritage and whitewashing of queer heritage. So I found it interesting that so much of your liberal arts study you can derive so much value from in the community and out in the city. And although it's a little bit more challenging at the moment, I would recommend all kind of liberal arts students to, like, you know, get involved in virtual events that you might not think might have any relevance to what you're currently studying. It might down the line inform elements of your dissertation or future assessments that you're kind of working on. So yeah, that was a cool element. And then in my it takes me on to my next point. In my final year on my master's, I did a lot of kind of research out in the community again when I was kind of researching what it means to be HIV positive in the modern day. And I went to see Q&A, and I asked him loads of interesting questions that really helped with my dissertation research. And he was kind of doing all these like testimonial performance poems about, do genuinely believe one of the best ways to get the most out of the liberal arts degree is really kind of being eager to kind of find interdisciplinarity and great ideas out in the city and out in the community. And yeah, so that's kind of what I was involved in terms of academics. But then on top of that, in what Zoe and Dan mentioned, it's kind of good to also like have like another element to your kind of life other than just your degree. So I was also involved in the Institute of Learning and Teaching, and I was working on the Wellbeing Curriculum project about how to embed wellbeing in our curriculum and make it suitable. And one of the elements might be kind of rethinking assessment, feedback and grading. But one of the things that I kind of wanted to look at was sense of belonging and students' kind of fractured element of being part of the community. Yeah, liberal arts do essentially run built. There was a running joke when I joined, like, oh, will they ever get anyone that isn't a liberal arts student in that institute? But yeah, there was coordinating the Wellbeing Conference, which was like the first conference they'd had in Bristol on wellbeing, which is kind of strange given how pertinent it had become, the kind of the mental health crisis, and you know, different campaigns to you know, suicide prevention in Bristol had been kind of on topic, and it was hard to avoid kind of Bristol Post and mentioning that. And yeah, the thing about that event was I enjoyed the community element and people like networking and meeting new people. But actually one of the panels that we organised was on grief and illness. And when I organised that panel and the event was on the 7th of March, I didn't really kind of realise how important that panel would be for 2020 and COVID. And there was one of my philosophy professors, Happy Carell, was on the panel, and actually some of the things she said on that panel in the conference that we organised kind of featured in my dissertation. So something that I was working on in addition to my studies for like paid work was then feeding back into my actual dissertation. So it's interesting, like the connection between like what you do outside and how it informs your learning. But yeah, that's kind of everything I got up to during my time on the master's, integrated master's. And now I'm kind of waiting to start a new job in January, which is a wellbeing practitioner at Creative Youth Network, a cool kind of youth service in Bristol, on LGBT mental health. So it all kind of worked out in the end. And I do believe all liberal arts students can have faith in their capacity to sell their degree and sell themselves to employers. You just got be creative with kind of thinking about not just what you did in your studies, but also what you did outside your studies and how they all inform one another. But yeah, that's kind of all I've got to say on my citizenship honorary mention.
Thank you so much, Owen. And I love that story of, you know, the giving to the community and then bringing it back to yourself and then taking it back out again. I think it is absolutely at the essence of the degree, but you know, it's more than the degree, and it's more than what can you put on your CV and how to have good spin, right? It's about taking the values that you're you know, that you have and that are changing and developing during that degree and during the things, all those things that you do. I love it. That's very wonderful. And congratulations on your new job. That's very exciting.
Yeah, thank you. I kind of wanted to say but I didn't know how to do it in the least cliche, cringy ways, that like you learn a lot about yourself and that personal development side of it. But I was like, oh, everything I'm going to say is going to like make me wince, so I'm just not going to say it. But yeah, there is more than just the CV and the spin. The job that I recently just got is something I genuinely care about in terms of my values and things that I believe are important in the world, and that's obviously more than just like earning a certain salary or whatever. So.
Absolutely, and that's why Zoe's not going to be impartial forever, right, Zoe? Okay, I think we have 2 people left. Abby, do you want to tell us what's going on with you? Abby, who we also had to go searching for. Abby, who didn't even know about this winning because she wasn't checking her email. See what happens? You guys all have to, those of you who are still on your degree, keep in touch with me when you graduate. I want to know what's going on with you. If I send you messages to your Bristol accounts, apparently you will never check them.
I responded to an email for you today that you sent me on September the 11th.
Aha, exactly.
They're lying around.
Yeah, I got a message from Owen last week and I was like, I've missed the event. I've missed everything. I have no idea what's going on. So I'm really glad to be able to actually make it today. Yeah, and yes, the alumni email, remember your password, because that was my problem. Yeah, so I graduated along with Dan and Owen in, what was it, July this year? We're still waiting for in-person graduation, but we did graduate. And I also got the Outstanding Citizen Prize for this year. I don't want to repeat what's gone before because I just think that everything that everyone said is so brilliant. So I don't want to I think that what I've really learned throughout liberal arts is, and just being at Bristol, I think it's so easy to compartmentalize the communities that you're part of, kind of thing, and not see the value in the community that is around your course. I think sometimes it's so easy to kind of tune into the course as the place of learning and then kind of leave all of that when you go off and then do the societies and events and things. But I think I came to realize that there was just an amazing community within liberal arts of people who were very like-minded and we're all able to support each other to get through the course together. And that was just such a amazing community to be a part of. So in first year, I mean, the liberal arts lounges and finding out that that's unique to liberal arts and to make the most of those events, it really meant that you could then kind of talk to people in different years and get to find out what everyone's studying and all doing different disciplines. You always, there'll be something that you find out that you never knew before, and also getting to know the department as well and the lecturers. I think that that's something that's really cool to liberal arts, because we're a smaller school, that we're able to do that and have those connections in the community. In second year, I was past leader and have lots of fond memories of sitting in a classroom with Dan, and shout out to Ben for making sure we got paid every week. But it was a lot of I think it was that really being able to give something back to a community that I was enjoying being in, and then also at the SU, I was chair of the Wellbeing Network in that year, and it felt like I was really starting to learn about what was important to me, that idea of development, personal development and stuff. It was finding out that all the dots and things that I was learning in the classroom about people, about the Ideas in Society unit, as Owen mentioned, and how to support people for wellbeing and how it all connects together. And it's just understanding community and understanding how to understand people, I guess. And then third year abroad, I went to Boston for my year abroad, to Boston College, and had such a brilliant time there on a campus. It was such a different style of kind of being in a community. It was much more this bubble, and I really just kind of threw myself into that. But it was and then kept a blog throughout the year, which meant that I still was able to keep in touch with some liberal arts friends and enjoy reading their vlogs as well and find out what they were getting up to. And at the beginning of this year, we then had a liberal arts brunch, which was just sharing all our memories of the year abroad, which I think was so cool, because then we all just came back together and we're like, wow, we've all had these completely different years in different universities, and actually knew very little of other than the blogs about each other's experiences, and we're just able to really kind of, I think, like cement ourselves being back in Bristol and wanting to invest in the community that we have created. And I also feel like in second year I had so many other things going on and being part of the SU and things, that it then meant that fourth year I was like, I want to come back to really get to know liberal arts and to really throw myself into the course. But it is the connections that get you through it. And then right at the end of this year, obviously our time was cut short on campus, but it really, for me, the reason I was able to keep going and write the dissertation was because I was calling friends and having like writing and having each other on cameras and Facebook Messenger and all of that. Like it really meant that I actually got the dissertation in, and honestly without having people to call as if we were in a library together is how we tried to set it up. And yeah, I think that would have been just so much more difficult. So those connections really powered getting through the course. Yeah, what else? I guess it really is just, what else do I want to say? I think,
what have you been up to, Abby, since you finished?
Okay, what I'm doing now. I'm now a community manager for a tech startup, which is something that I did not expect I'd be a part of. It's a company that aims to tackle social isolation and loneliness in older people by creating online talks. And it basically means that I'm providing a liberal arts education to over 50s, which I'm really enjoying. And that's really how I got the job. I was like, I've done liberal arts and I love lots of different topics and would love to kind of be part of this. Also very much emphasize the data course. So that is a good shout. I'm doing a lot more work on Excel spreadsheets now. So yeah, and I think again, it's just that kind of community. I mean, we're all recognizing this year as well, like community is the thing that keeps us connected and keeps us going, and it's so important. And there were times, and I know some people know, but there were times in second year where I had serious conversations about whether I needed to defer a year or anything. And what kept me getting into the classroom and into course really was knowing that I had someone to talk to in the classroom, because I had friends there, and that made all the difference. So I think, as tempting as it can seem sometimes to kind of be a bit of a, like, come into a class and not necessarily know all your classmates and leave your social life outside the classroom, really try and bring your social life into the classroom as well, because it makes the whole experience so much more enriching, and you get to learn so much more from the other people in your class and have a just more enjoyable learning experience. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Abby. That's lovely. Abby, we learned, is also a exemplary quiz master who led us through a great game of bingo, which I'm not going to forget anytime soon, especially because I got some answers wrong. We won't talk about that. But I did know when the sun sets the earliest. So I take some credit for knowing that one answer.
Anyone goes to Uppsala, be aware.
It's Uppsala. All right, so we have left Phoebe. Phoebe, tell us about you.
Hello. Everyone has spoken so eloquently and profoundly, and I have 3 sticky notes of scribbled words to get through. So we'll see how mine turns out. So I was in Zoe's cohort. We graduated in 2019, and I was also a recipient of the Citizenship Award, which has been quite hard to reflect, like having to ask me to do the kind of terrifying self-reflection process has been quite funny, but it's also brought up lots of nostalgic and nice memories of my time at Bristol, and trying to understand myself why I got the Citizenship Award. So I guess I'll just take you through, I think the easiest way to do it is just to take you through my academic and extracurricular journey, because I think essentially what I've always tried to do in my time in education, as people have already said, is knit together kind of extracurricular fulfillment, community interaction, as well as and allowing that to inform my studies and my academics, but also creating a nice kind of cohesive balance to keep oneself sane in the bubble of university. I don't know what's happening on the chat. Oh no, dog. I don't have anything as cute to present, I'm afraid. So in my first 2 years of the liberal arts programme, I was really heavily involved in theatre and film outside of my academics, where I focused mainly in literature and history, but also theatre as well. I was a departmental representative of Studio Space, which is the theatre and, but I think it's called something different now, but the Theatre and Film Society that's associated with the department. And I was the theatre rep of that, which was a really good experience to kind of tie together both creative facilitation. So I was helping students from theatre, from film, from theatre in English, from liberal arts, to kind of create and encourage their creative outputs, as well as support them academically as well, because it was affiliated with the department. So that was very fun. I also, in my second year, I was an online film and TV editor for Epigram, which was fun to encourage kind of critical thought, reviewing and engaging with creativity, not only with art students, but with students from across the university, engaging with film as well. So again, that was very fulfilling, and it improved my writing as well by reading other people's writing and enjoying whatever everyone's views and what they had to say about the films that were coming out that year. And then I went on my year abroad, as lots of people did, where I did my year at McGill alongside Zoe, actually, in Montreal. And that was great to see another kind of iteration of, or another version of, liberal arts education, one that has a kind of longer history, one that is kind of universally embedded, I guess. You know, you'd be in a class. I was in a history class, a Renaissance history class, but I was with classic students, poli-sci students, art history students. So that was a really exciting kind of organic way to engage my liberal arts education in a different cultural context. And then I guess from that year, I decided to dedicate the rest of my time at university into advocating for liberal arts education and interdisciplinarity, which I'd kind of embodied up until that point, I think, but I had not done anything to kind of share. Well, I was sharing it in my own way, but to actively kind of on an education level promote it. So that was also, alongside that, there was a kind of a growing interest in global education as well, and global experiences, which I got from the opportunity to be able to go and study abroad. So that summer, I took part in a project on peace building in Bosnia, which was looking at the aftermath of the genocide and the war, and looking at the kind of post-conflict landscape there. And that was another great way to engage in like active interdisciplinary learning. I was working alongside philosophy students, politics students, IR, international relations students, and we were all had a really kind of kaleidoscopic view on what we were studying, what we were doing, and what we were practically participating in trying to discern the kind of the post-conflict landscape. And that started to generate my ideas for my fourth year, which was very much around cultural memory and heritage and stuff. So my fourth year, in terms of liberal arts, promoting liberal arts education, I was on the organising committee alongside Zoe for liberal arts conference, which was really fun and very tiring, but very exciting, where we managed to stitch together think tanks, academics, and students from across the country to kind of come together, congregate, and celebrate the kind of emergence of liberal arts in the UK. And I gave a panel talk on that as well, which Zoe chaired, on the future of liberal arts education. Alongside this, like Owen and Zoe, I was also on the student team as a fellow for the Bristol Institute of Learning and Teaching, which what time is it of year? If there's applications to do that, do it. It's so fun. I had such a good time. And I worked on a project. I can't specifically remember the project title, but I remember that I alongside my other liberal arts course mate, Corrie, and student fellow, we kind of founded this online platform, which I think, Owen, did you take over the Humans of Bristol University?
We did indeed. We enjoyed it, actually. It was a great kind of segue into getting our kind of projects kind of explored by academics and students. So thanks for that.
No worries. So we kind of made this platform akin to Humans of New York, but did a multimedia blog series showcasing different voices from across the university that you wouldn't necessarily come into contact with. Both students, lecturers, especially the Best of Bristol lecturers, as well as university staff like the library staff and people like that. And my favorite interview from that actually was interviewing our course mate Lizzie, who will go down in history, I think, for bringing her beautiful baby Maria, who's not so much a baby anymore, across the stage with her at graduation. And we had a lovely kind of photography and interview, written interview mix, addressing maternal and physical access to the university. So if it's still up there, if they haven't deleted any traces of my work there, that's a really good interview to check out. And yeah, and basically throughout that whole time, I think I was like constantly a liberal arts rep. So I just love repping. Pick up the reps. And yeah, so I guess I've just always wanted to bring together communities in an interdisciplinary framework. What have I done since? So I decided to take a kind of quote unquote year off to decide what was happening in my life, which was a really convenient time for a pandemic to hit, obviously. So in my time off, I wanted to kind of test the waters of different things that I could go into. So I was predominantly just working at home in my old job, waitressing, but I've also since worked at a literature festival in Devon, which is where I live, and I work as an assistant producer every summer, obviously not this summer because of the pandemic. I worked as an oral historian, an assistant oral historian at Bristol Beacon, obviously formerly Colston Hall. When I was working for it, it was kind of just on the brink of deciding what the name change was going to be. And it was a project documenting the histories of the hall while it was undergoing its refurbishment. So that was another wonderful way to kind of get out into the community, break the university bubble. But that happened just after I graduated. So that was a nice kind of practical experience into heritage, which I had been researching for my dissertation and stuff that year. I have been volunteering for a charity called the Hands Up Project, which does online storytelling, English language teaching, and kind of digital theatre making with students in Palestine. And I specifically work with a teacher in Gaza, which has been just the best. It's really fun, very fulfilling work, and just again a nice way to kind of apply one's liberal arts education in the real world. What else? I ran a radio show in Devon on local heritage, landscape and literature in Devon, which was not great, but it was really fun. And yeah, so my sorry, I'm kind of rambling a bit. My goal for the past year was to do a bit of traveling as well, similar to what I did in Bosnia, in some kind of cultural program. And I was going to do a British Council funded scheme, cultural immersion program in Shanghai, which obviously got cancelled because of the pandemic. But then I was invited to speak on a panel for the British Council talking about global and educational experiences and how they're going to change or shift in a post-COVID world. So I think what I can offer from that is that you should just apply, and from what I've just been rambling on about, you should just apply for everything, because you don't know what kind of opportunities will arise, even if something doesn't quite work out or doesn't fall through. Because that was a really exciting thing for me to be a part of and to meet quite interesting people. And then what I'm doing now is that I kind of decided to panic and re-enter education for the year while this pandemic subsides. And I was somehow offered academic scholarship to do an MPhil in heritage studies here in Cambridge. So I'm doing that, which is fascinating and kind of is a re-articulation of and a development of everything that I had stitched together over the course of my liberal arts education. But it's also scary because I've like moonlighting into social sciences, and my heart is so with humanities. Sometimes I feel misunderstood, but it's a great challenge that I'm doing at the moment. And here I am learning a bit of Arabic. I'm doing some work in the education department at the Museum of Cambridge and organizing a speaker series for my college. So I'm very stressed and busy, but as I was throughout the entire my liberal arts thing. But all I can say is that you should just do everything, because why shouldn't you? It's just wonderful. And I think the liberal arts course at Bristol, even just hearing everyone talk here, it's just completely shaped who I am and my approach to life, which is one that, despite everything that's happening in the world right now, seeks new connections and always seeks to be optimistic. And I'm really proud to be an alumnus, a part of the alumni. I know how to use words. An alumnus of the Bristol University Liberal Arts Programme. It was the best decision to also go against the grain. When I was applying, there were like 5 programs in liberal arts. No one had heard of it. And I thought, this is the only program that seems to articulate what I believe education to be. And I'm so pleased to see that this is growing and growing and growing. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Fantastic. You guys are amazing. I am so you are amazing people. And I'm really, really so happy that you came back to talk to everyone. And we've recorded it, so anyone who couldn't make it today, I really hope I will be telling everybody to watch this, because I think it's really fantastic. Wait, I need my clapping hands on. Thank you so much. I know it's 12:54 and we said we'd wrap up at 1. If anyone can stick around and people have questions, that would be fantastic. If you have to go, thank you. I'm so happy to see you here today. And maybe we could all do a round of applause. So if anyone has questions, you can put them in the chat box or ask.
I just really want to very quickly just show everyone something, and I want Emma Cole to particularly see.
Emma, are you still here?
She's gonna get a dog, I think.
Everyone, show your sausage dog. Honestly, this is the best part of life now. I want to see Marcel.
Hold on, I'll go and get him again. This is getting off topic. It's just become a dog sharing show, but I'll be back. Hold on.
I just had to make the most of the opportunity while we were all here. Karen, I've got a question for you.
Yes.
How are you finding your role and the Liberal Arts Department now, a couple of years after having started, and where is it going in the future?
Oh my goodness, that is a huge question, Zoe. Well, it has definitely been interesting, particularly in light of this pandemic. And other interesting things. For example, I know that the history of liberal arts is a history of revolving doors with our staff, but we have 2 people off on maternity leave right now, 2 new babies in the last week. Would just like to announce.
That's so rude.
Babies.
2 new babies, a baby Martha and a baby Orson Rex. So that's pretty exciting. Where is the future? I don't know, Zoe. The future is all good things. I am meeting tomorrow with the faculty education director for social sciences to see if they maybe want to start, having some little conversation with us in liberal arts, see where else we can go, see where else we might want to go. And then we're working on some partnerships with some universities in Asia. I'll just be slightly evasive. Maybe create kind of partnerships where students do 2 years there and then 2 years with us or something along those lines. So looking at some options there. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Good things. Yeah, I'm loving my job. So as long as that's true, I'm happy to try out all new things. We were just
Awesome.
talking, me and Amy, this morning about how wonderful the liberal arts students are. Like they're just, and people tell us all the time, I get, oh, you're liberal arts. I had 2 liberal arts students in my class. They were amazing. I'm like,
It's because we're survivors of Bristol's segregated department system.
All right, Phoebe has put her email in there. No student questions? They're all shy.
Not a question, but I just wanted to say, a big thanks to everyone, but also in particular to Dan and Abby for that year of past sessions where it was just the 3 of us, and you guys were my personal academic therapists. So yeah, thanks for that, and it's nice to hear you're doing well.
I still have one of your books, Ben. I have a book on art that I need to give back to you that you once lent me. So.
It's okay, that's my Christmas present to you, Abby.
And thank you again for coming along to all those sessions, Ben.
All right, people, we're gonna say farewell. Guests, those are the former Bristolians. We are having our holiday party on Wednesday, so if you miss us a lot, you're welcome to join us for our holiday party, which will of course be on Zoom. Just having a little bit of a problem with our special guest. We have a really special guest that Amy and I are planning. And so right now the party is at 3, but there is a chance that we will have to move the party back to 2:30. So to accommodate our special guest, but it will be
a celebrity.
Is it Bob?
It's not.
I thought the same thing.
Well, secret guests. I'm not saying who our secret guest may be because it might not happen.
Is it Benedict Cumberbatch?
Is it Barack Obama?
Way better looking.
Continue his book tour to Bristol.
Justin Trudeau.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, we're like this,
That's what I was expecting.
It's a secret, but I'll tell you afterwards.
That's not me. Could have possibly be.
All right. I see people are falling off. I will say thank you. Good to see you.
Thanks, everyone.
Karen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.